chance to play with Blender? Would anyone like to show anything that they've worked on? Feel free to unmute or answer in the chat. Okay. Jaden, Matthew, have you guys had a chance to play with Blender? Do you want to show anything you've worked on? Are you running into any issues? Okay, no worries, Jaden. Okay. So for our project, as you can probably tell, we're kind of starting to work on the grounds of St. Ambrose. So the first thing we need to do is we need to gather some reference material. Hi, Noah. Welcome to class. Here, let me turn off the camera to increase some bandwidth here. Noah, have you had a chance to play with Blender at all? Okay. I said, have you had a chance to work on Blender at all? Would you like to show anything you've worked on? Okay, no worries. So the first thing we're going to do is, as we start to build St. Ambrose Church in the school in 3D, the first thing we need to do is we need to gather reference material. So as you can see, here I am in Google Maps. And here's the church, and here's the school that we'll be working from. And we also have the ECC building and the original, the bingo hall, I guess as it's labeled here, but the original church at one point. So generally what I do when I'm gathering materials, because we want to be, accurate, we want to represent the architecture correctly. So what I'll do is I'll come in here, I'll zoom in just a little bit so that I can make sure I can fit as much of the screen in here as possible. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to capture these pictures as reference. Well, let me see if I can find the function in here. And then what we'll do is we'll open, you can open up Photoshop or you can open up GIMP. And then we'll paste those pictures and we'll start to use those as reference to build off of. So we'll create new. Let me go back to my presentation and we will present the entire screen. So we'll come over here to Photoshop. We'll open up the clipboard. And nope, that's not what I was looking for. This is what I was looking for. Print screen. Hopefully that'll paste correctly this time. No. Why is that coming up? Give me 1 second. Let me close all these extra. Because what I want to do is I want to capture this screen. There we go. So I want to capture that as a reference. So that's the top view we have. And then what I'll do is I'll pin it. And that'll take us to a front view of the church that we have. And I'll bring this over just a little bit as reference.
You're not presenting.
I'm not presenting. Oh, man. Let me see. Share. Okay, can you see what I'm presenting now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. So I'm capturing the reference I need to build off of. So I'll come over here. So now I have the front of the church. I'll capture that as reference. Then I'll come over. It doesn't have to be great reference. It just has to be just enough to get by. And that way I can see, the different lines in the perspective of the church. And that's fine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus in on the church first. I'm going to drag this over and I'm going to save this as my reference. So copy, paste, and then I'll save this as the St. Ambrose. We'll call this church. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here to Blender. I will hide everything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a plane. Scale this up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach that image as my reference. So we'll come over here to the shader editor. I'm going to create a new shader. Come over here to the object property. And then what I'll do is I'll pull in my nodes that I need to bring in that texture. And I'll just plug them in as I need. So this one I'll probably UV map it so it stays true and accurate. And I'll open up that image. And as you can see, there's the church. Let me see if I can make that a little more contrast. That's too much. So now what I can see is I can see some challenges I'm going to have with the roof line, the pitch of the roof, and just kind of the overall layout. So let me. So the first thing I want to do is I want to identify the best way to model this. So if I look at my top reference and I look at the different angles that the church is presenting, like so, I can see I've got, large triangle here. The best way to identify like how we're going to build this is if I look at my building and I break things down into the most basic of shapes, is really the best way to approach this. Just give me 1 second here. Something is. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll take a pencil, brush, and if I come down here and you'll see the first thing I see is, well, let me see, where's this at? Oh. And what you can see is, I've got a triangle here, comes all the way down. A triangle that comes all the way down here. And then I can bring that line all the way across. And then I've got another box here. And it takes a while to get used to kind of see these shapes initially. And you'll see how this line comes down. And then I've got, another shape here. Well, that's a terrible line. Here, and it does the same thing for the side, and then that sits on top of a box. So you can see that box. And that's kind of how we build. We break it down into basic shapes. And then you can see I've got this small box that comes out like so. I know it looks like I'm just kind of tracing over the church, but what you have to do is you have to break things down into simple shapes and then you build up. So let me demonstrate. And this one, and we have the angles. And let me just take a look at this. So now what we'll do is we'll start to actually build out the church just a little bit. So if I take a cube, again, just one of the basic shapes we're using. And I'll bring this to the forefront here. I'll pull this up. Now, obviously, that's quite tall, so we'll scale it down. Pull this back. And we're going to scale this on the X and bring it in just a little bit like so. That way it lines up from here to here. Or what we can do to make it a little bit easier, we can pull this in. And the thing is, you can tell that the church is actually fairly symmetrical. So what we can do is we can build one side and then we can duplicate it over. That way we can do it one time. And that way we don't have to build both sides. We can build one side and then just mirror it over. So what we'll do is we'll pull this over. As you can see, that's our roof line. And obviously the picture isn't a direct overview from the satellite, but it's close enough. So we'll pull this in, and this is where we start to line things up. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pull the roof out. So what we're going to do is we're going to E to extrude. And then we're going to pick this polygon here, and we're going to move it up. Oops, I think I accidentally duplicated that more than once. E to extrude. And then we're going to pick this polygon here, and we're going to pull this up. Now remember, St. Ambrose is a fairly tall roof. I could gather more reference and build out more lines and stuff, but we're kind of stylizing this, so we're not looking to be 100% accurate. And then I'll pull the shape of the building up just a little bit. So now we've got the first line. Now what we want to do is, because there's some overlap from the roof over the building, we'll extrude this out just a little bit. Like so. The next part will be I need to stretch this out just a little more. And now what we're going to do is we're going to extrude this out. And we're going to extrude this out to about here at first. because you see this small kick out that we have. We need to be conscious of that. So next thing we're going to do, we'll select these points and we're going to pull this in like so. Now, because we have this small kick out, we need to figure out how we can get this to line up properly. So I need to take a better look. Probably need a better look at the church. We don't have to be 100% accurate at this moment. But what we will do is we'll insert a line. What I'll do is I'll bring it close to here, and then what I'll do is I'll slide it over. Using the GG button. So now what I'll do is I will extrude the back out. So E for extrude. And there we go. So the next part is we're going to pull this roof out just a little bit. So we'll select these two polygons, well, three. E for extrude, bring this out. And we'll do the same thing for this portion here. E for extrude, and I'll show you how to make this corner smooth in just a minute. Because we're going to E for to extrude this. And that came out straight for some reason, but we can always just bring that down. And then we will E to extrude this out. So now we have a problem with overlapping geometry, and that's not something we want. That's not desirable. So what we'll do is we'll select these two polygons and we'll delete them. Face. And we'll go into wireframe mode and we will select these other two polygons here and here. And we will delete these. Now what we're going to do is we're going to merge points. So if we go to point mode, and it's kind of hard to see in this mode, but you'll see these little purple points here on the ends of these polygons. So what we want to do is we want to merge these. So we select those and we hit Control. Let me see where it's at. We don't know which one it is. New vertex. Where's it at? Okay, if it's not there, we can merge it. Merge at center. And that will join those polygons together. Which I only want these two. Merge at center. And we'll do the same thing for these two. We'll merge at center. So now that's not very clean looking, but we can adjust that with just moving it over, bringing it down. And then we can do the same thing for the top here also. And then what we'll do is we will bridge these polygons together. And we'll type bridge. And bridge, what it does is it joins two edges and creates a polygon in between. And then we'll do the same thing. So now we have a roof line. We have the beginnings of the church. So the next part we want to do is we want to create these small kickouts that we have. So as you can see, these roof lines extend just a little bit past. And because we're only building out the outside, not the inside, we have a lot more leeway in what we can do here. So literally what we can do is we can just make another box. So create another cube. Scale it up. And now what we'll do is we'll bring the ground up just a little bit. And we'll bring it in. Like so. Now the thing we want to do is we want to put an edge in here, directly in the middle. And then we're going to extrude this up. So we'll extrude it up. And then we're going to take the middle section and we're going to pull this up so that now it comes outside of the church. So if we pull these points, we can pull the line back so that it's on the inside. And let me turn off the X-ray. And now you see how it extrudes out from the church. So we'll extrude this down. And we'll do the same thing for the other side. And we might give that a little more space just for an aesthetic purpose. Like I said, we don't have to be exact. And then what I'll do is, so that we keep things consistent and that they merge smoothly, we'll delete the inside polygons here. Delete those faces. We'll get out of our edit mode. And now what we'll do is we'll mirror our work. We'll mirror that on the X. We'll mirror this object. Oh, sorry, we want to flip it. Let me see. Why is that not working? Oh, I know why. Because our midpoint here is not in the correct spot. So if we go to our top view here, cut our perspective, wireframe, and we'll pull the church in directly in the middle. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to set our origin to 3D cursor. And now we should be able to mirror it right over. And now we have two halves together. So now we have the outside of the church. Now, sometimes the vertices don't always merge. So what we'll do is we will accept these changes. And what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we'll merge the vertices And it's just one of those tasks that we have to do sometimes if things don't line up. We'll merge at the center. And we'll just run through and we'll do that for each point. Make sure everything is in the middle. And that way when we go to edit anything else, we can keep our symmetry. Always be mindful, not to move vertices or anything else like that during this process. And that should be good. So that way we don't have any geometry that's flickering as it's going down the middle. So now we can add the two parts of the building that protrude out here and here. And you can kind of get an idea for the detail of the church. Let me switch this to Eevee. Okay, so now what we'll do, again, a lot of stuff we create from boxes. Go into the cube. We'll pull it over. We'll scale it up. Scale it wide. And this part of the church is a little bit shorter. And we'll bring this up just a little bit. We'll extrude. And let's take a look at our roof line here, because there it goes. Sorry. As you can see, it's almost like we have a trapezoid and a triangle. So now what we're going to do is we'll throw a line. So we'll bring it over. And now what we'll do is we'll go in wireframe mode here. We're going to pull these points towards the front. And then what we'll do is we're going to take these points and we're going to pull this up. And now you can kind of see you have that triangle here. We might want to pull this forward some. Okay, so something we can do to kind of fix this, and it'll look a little more aesthetically pleasing, is if we tweak these faces. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull this geometry along with the merge tool. So the first thing we're going to do is we will select each point and we're going to merge it at the last point that we picked. So M for merge at last, or you can do it first depending on the order you pick. And we'll merge it. Now you can see we have a missing triangle here and a missing side over here. Easily fixable. Now the thing you have to keep in mind is what we call point order. Okay. We select things in a certain order in order to fill this geometry properly. because if we don't, what we'll get is an incorrect triangle or a flipped polygon. So you select things in clockwise manner. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then F for fill. And now I've just done that. So if we go again, 1, 2, 3, 4, F for fill, and then again 1, 2, 3, and F for fill. And now we've got the roof line, the box, and now we can extrude out the roof. And I can fix that in a little bit, but let's just get the idea going here. Now what we do is we can duplicate this. So if we go object, set origin to 3D cursor, which is our small dot in the middle. And again, now we're going to mirror our work. So we'll mirror it and we will flip it on the y-axis. But we don't need it on the x. And now we have the two small protrusions that come out of the building. I will apply those results. And now you have kind of the rundown of the church. Obviously, we need to put these two small sides in and this other overhang here. But you kind of get the idea. Is this all making sense so far? Anybody have any questions? Matthew, Jaden, any questions? Okay. Well, I think we're at a good stopping point for now. So next week, what we're going to do is we're going to actually start to texture it and give it a more photorealistic look for the church. We'll finish building out those overhangs, and I'll show you how to build the fountain using the lathe tool. And then next we're going to start learning how to really apply lighting and texturing techniques to make things feel realistic. Okay? All right, well, you guys have a great rest of your week. I will try and post this recording up tonight so that you guys can look at it for the rest of the week, and you guys have a great day. All right, bye.